The mortuary always sounded alive after midnight. Rebecca Owens told herself that was nonsense, just the hum of fluorescent lights, the steady cough of old refrigeration units, the ticking wall clock that never kept correct time. Still, the longer she stood alone in the embalming room, the more the silence seemed to inhale and exhale, like something patient and waiting. She checked the schedule again, even though she already knew it by heart. 3 bodies. Routine embalming. Clock out by dawn. Routine. That word had lost all meaning since she started working under Raymond Delver. Rebecca pulled on fresh gloves and adjusted her mask. The scent of formaldehyde clung to her hair, her clothes, her skin, as if she were slowly being preserved alongside the dead. She had been here 6 months, long enough for the nightmares to start, long enough to hear whispers in the shower and see shapes standing in doorways that vanished when she blinked. She told herself it was stress. She always told herself that. The first body lay on the stainless steel table beneath harsh lights, an elderly woman, peaceful, folded inward like a secret she'd taken to the grave. Rebecca began the procedure by muscle memory, hands steady even as her heart fluttered. Incision. Drainage. The work grounded her, precise, methodical, controlled. The dead did not lie. They did not surprise you. That thought shattered when the woman's lips twitched. Rebecca froze. Her breath fogged inside the mask. She leaned closer, eyes searching for movement. Nothing. Just gravity settling skin. Just imagination. Get a grip, she whispered. The lights flickered. Rebecca straightened sharply as the room dipped into shadow and snapped back to brightness. The hum grew louder, distorted, like something screaming underwater. She reached for the wall phone. Dead. She swallowed hard. Power outages happened sometimes. Old building. Old wiring. Raymond always said it was nothing to worry about. Raymond Delver. The mortuary owner. Mentor. The man who hired her when no one else would. A man who never embalmed alone. Rebecca moved to the door and tried the handle. Locked. Her stomach dropped. No, she said, twisting it harder. No, no. The door didn't budge. Her keycard lay in her locker at the far end of the hall. She remembered leaving it there, distracted by the schedule, by the way the air had felt heavier than usual when she arrived. Raymond had gone home early, claiming a migraine, his eyes shadowed and distant. The realization crept in slowly, like cold water soaking through fabric. She was trapped. The lights flickered again, this time dimming, staying dim. Shadows stretched across the walls, long and warped, refusing to align with any solid object. Rebecca backed away from the door, pulse pounding in her ears. That was when she heard it. Her name. Not spoken aloud, pressed directly into her skull, intimate and invasive. Rebecca. She clutched her head and staggered back, nearly colliding with the embalming table. The elderly woman's eyes were open now. Wide. Wet. Watching. Rebecca screamed. She stumbled away as the woman's mouth peeled into a smile far too wide, teeth clicking together like insect legs. The overhead lights burst, plunging the room into darkness. Then, nothing. The lights snapped back on. The body lay exactly as before. Eyes closed. Mouth still. Peaceful. Rebecca's scream echoed once more before dying in her throat. Her hands shook violently. She ripped off her gloves and backed away, chest burning. Hallucination. It had to be. Sleep deprivation. Anxiety. That's what Raymond warned her about, how the mind could fracture in places like this if you let it. A memory surfaced unbidden. If something feels wrong, Raymond had said during her first week, his voice low, deliberate, finish your tasks anyway. The dead demand respect. And completion keeps us safe. Safe from what? A metallic clang rang out from the hallway. Rebecca jumped, heart hammering. The sound came again. Slow, deliberate footsteps. She peered through the small window in the door. The hallway was empty. Yet the footsteps continued. She forced herself to breathe and turned back to the room. 3 tables. 3 bodies. The schedule sheet fluttered on the clipboard, though there was no breeze. At the bottom, scrawled in red ink she did not remember writing, were 4 words. One of them lies. Her mouth went dry. The temperature plummeted, her breath turning visible. The woman on the table began to tremble, not a twitch this time, but a full, rhythmic shudder, as if something beneath her skin was trying to crawl out. Rebecca staggered backward until her spine hit the counter. "No," she whispered. "I'm not doing this." The lights dimmed further, plunging the corners of the room into pulsing darkness. The hum deepened into a low chant, layered voices speaking over one another in a language that scraped against her thoughts. Her name again. Closer. Inside her. Rebecca clutched her chest as a sudden, horrifying clarity struck her. Raymond hadn't left early because of a migraine. He had left her here on purpose. And whatever was trapped inside this mortuary had finally noticed her. The clock on the wall ticked once, loud, deliberate, then stopped. The doors locked with a heavy, final thud. And somewhere beneath the hum of the lights, something laughed. The clock refused to move. Rebecca stared at it until her eyes burned, the second hand frozen between ticks like it had been pinned there by some unseen force. Time, it seemed, had decided to abandon the mortuary, leave her alone with the dead and whatever else had slipped inside. Her breathing sounded too loud. Too alive. She forced herself to move. Standing still felt dangerous, like prey freezing in tall grass. She wiped her damp palms against her scrubs and stepped away from the door. The elderly woman lay motionless again, but Rebecca no longer trusted stillness. Not here. Not now. She grabbed the clipboard and read the message again. One of them lies. 3 bodies tonight. She had memorized them earlier, back when reality still made sense. Table 1, the elderly woman, natural causes. Table 2, a middle-aged man pulled from a car wreck, chest crushed, face partially reconstructed. Table 3, a young woman found drowned, skin pale and bloated, eyes sewn shut. One of them was wrong. The thought slid into her mind like a splinter. Rebecca's phone buzzed in her pocket. She nearly dropped it pulling it out. No signal glared back at her, but beneath it was a single notification, no number, no contact name. Just a message. Finish your work. Her throat tightened. Raymond. Her fingers hovered over the screen as another message appeared, the letters typing themselves. If you stop, it notices you more. What notices me? She whispered. The lights flickered in response. A memory surfaced, Raymond standing beside her during training, correcting her posture, his voice steady even as something banged faintly inside one of the freezer drawers. Fear is an invitation, he'd said. Professional distance keeps the boundary intact. Boundary. Between what and what? Rebecca's gaze drifted to the cremation room door at the end of the hall, heavy, reinforced, sealed with warning signs she had always ignored. The incinerator. The final step. Her stomach twisted. Another buzz. The demon will lie to you. It will show you things. It wants your permission. Permission for what? Before she could think further, a shrill cry tore through the room, metal scraping metal. One of the gurneys rattled violently. Rebecca spun around. The middle-aged man's body jerked upward, back arching in a way broken spines shouldn't allow. His mouth yawned open, jaw cracking, releasing a wet, choking sound that might have been laughter. Rebecca screamed and stumbled backward, colliding with the counter. Instruments clattered to the floor. Then, silence. The body collapsed back onto the table. Her heart slammed so hard she thought it might burst. She stood trembling, tears streaking down her face, vision blurring. Hallucination, she sobbed. This is just a hallucination. But hallucinations didn't leave marks. The man's lips were split now, thin lines of blood tracing down his chin. Rebecca backed away, shaking her head. Her gaze snapped to the elderly woman. Still. Then to the drowned girl. Still. The air thickened, pressing against her chest. The hum deepened, vibrating through her bones. Words began forming in the sound, not spoken, but understood. You don't belong here. Rebecca clutched her ears. Stop. The lights burst again, plunging the room into red emergency lighting. In the dim glow, the walls appeared closer, warped inward, as if the building itself were leaning in to watch. The drowned girl's table slid an inch closer. Rebecca froze. It slid again. Slow. Deliberate. No, Rebecca whispered, backing away. No, no. The girl's stitched eyelids twitched. Rebecca bolted. She ran down the hallway, shoes slipping on polished tile, breath tearing from her lungs. She reached Raymond's office and slammed the door behind her, throwing the lock. The room smelled of old paper and antiseptic. Bookshelves lined the walls, ancient texts mixed with medical journals. Symbols were carved into the desk, etched so deeply the wood around them had splintered. Rebecca's blood ran cold. She hadn't seen this before. She grabbed a notebook from the desk and flipped it open. Handwritten notes filled every page, dates, names, sketches of sigils, warnings scrawled in frantic ink. Containment requires sacrifice. Assistants are temporary anchors. Possession attempts increase during embalming. Rebecca's hands shook. Assistants. Plural. Her stomach dropped as she flipped further back, pages yellowed with age. Names. Dozens of them. Some crossed out. Some circled. Some ending with a single word written over and over again. Failed. Her name appeared at the bottom of the last page. Not crossed out. Not circled. Just written neatly, waiting. The whisper returned, closer now, warm against her ear. You're doing so well, Rebecca. She spun around. Raymond stood in the corner. Her heart leapt, then shattered. His eyes were wrong. Too dark. Too empty. His smile stretched unnaturally wide. You're not real, she whispered. Raymond tilted his head. Real enough. The room began to rot around him, walls peeling, books bleeding ink, symbols glowing faintly red. He stepped forward, shoes making no sound. You were never meant to survive, he said gently. Just to delay it. The door behind Rebecca banged open. The lights went out. And in the darkness, something wrapped its fingers around her thoughts and began to pull. Rebecca woke on the floor. Cold tile pressed into her cheek, seeping through her skin and into her bones. For a moment, she didn't know where she was, or who she was. Then the smell hit her. Formaldehyde. Rot. Smoke that didn't belong. The mortuary. She pushed herself upright, muscles screaming in protest. The lights were on again, normal this time, bright and unforgiving. Raymond's office looked untouched. No rotting walls. No bleeding books. No symbols glowing beneath the desk lamp. The notebook lay open at her feet. Real. Her heart sank. She staggered to her feet, clutching the desk for balance. The whispers were quieter now, as if whatever haunted the building was watching her carefully, waiting to see what she would do next. The phone buzzed. Another message. You lost time. That's bad. Rebecca swallowed. How long? The reply came instantly. Long enough for it to learn you. A wave of nausea rolled through her. She stumbled back into the hallway, half expecting the walls to collapse inward or hands to burst through the tiles. Nothing happened. Too quiet. She passed the freezer units. One of them hummed louder than the rest, rattling slightly, like something inside was restless. Frost had spread across the door, forming jagged shapes that almost looked like words. She didn't read them. She couldn't. The embalming room waited at the end of the hall, door wide open like a mouth. Rebecca hesitated, then stepped inside. All three bodies were still there. But something had changed. The elderly woman's hands were folded tighter than before, knuckles white beneath thin skin. The man from the car accident had shifted, his head angled slightly toward the door, as if he'd been watching her approach. And the drowned girl. Rebecca's breath caught. The stitches over the girl's eyes were gone. In their place were wide, glassy pupils. Too black, too deep, reflecting the light like polished stone. Rebecca staggered backward. No. No, no. The girl's lips parted. Rebecca, she said. The voice wasn't hers. It layered over itself, multiple tones speaking in perfect unison, vibrating the air. Rebecca felt it in her teeth, her skull, her chest. You came back. Rebecca pressed herself against the counter, shaking violently. You're not real. The girl smiled. Oh, but I am, it said. And so are you. That's why you're useful. The lights dimmed again, not flickering this time, but slowly, deliberately, as if someone were turning a dial. Shadows thickened, stretching across the floor like grasping fingers. Rebecca's head pounded. Images flooded her mind, memories that weren't hers. Fire. Screaming. A man standing beside a furnace, calm as bodies burned behind him. Raymond. You've done this before, Rebecca whispered. The girl tilted her head. He has. The man on the table twitched. Rebecca screamed as his fingers curled, bones cracking loudly. His chest rose with a wet inhale. Stop, she cried. The elderly woman began to laugh. A thin, rattling sound that scraped along Rebecca's nerves. You see, the girl said gently. We can wear any of them. We can lie perfectly still. But you. Rebecca felt a sudden pressure behind her eyes, like fingers pressing inward. You feel everything. Pain exploded through her skull. She dropped to her knees, clutching her head as something clawed at her thoughts, digging into memories of her childhood, her fears, her regrets. Her mother's voice. The sound of drowning. The feeling of being trapped. Get out of my head. Rebecca screamed. The pressure eased, slightly. The girl frowned. You're stronger than the others. Others? Rebecca gasped. Images flashed, faces from Raymond's notebook. Assistants screaming, praying, begging as shadows poured into them, hollowing them out. You're the first one who might finish the job, the girl said. The man sat up fully now, his spine bending backward, skin tearing. He grinned, blood spilling from his mouth. Pick one, he crooned. Rebecca's gaze darted between the three bodies. Her chest heaved. Her mind raced. Which one was lying? The girl spoke. The man moved. The woman laughed. They were all wrong. The whispers returned, closer than ever. Mark the liar. Rebecca's eyes fell to the marking tags on the tray, small metal labels used to identify remains. Her hands trembled as she reached for one. Wrong choice, the elderly woman hissed suddenly, her neck snapping sideways with a sickening crack. Her eyes flew open, glowing faintly red. Rebecca screamed and dropped the tag. The lights went out. In the darkness, something wrapped around her wrist, cold, wet fingers tightening painfully. She felt breath against her ear. "Let me in," it whispered softly. "You don't have to be afraid anymore." Rebecca sobbed, fighting the pull, every instinct screaming at her to give in. Then she remembered Raymond's words. "Completion keeps us safe." With a cry of desperation, she tore free and scrambled backward, lungs burning. The emergency lights flickered on, bathing the room in red. All three bodies lay still again. As if nothing had happened. Rebecca collapsed against the wall, gasping. Her phone buzzed one more time. "You don't have much time. It's already touching you." Rebecca stared at her trembling hands. For the first time, she felt it too, something warm and wrong, sliding beneath her skin, testing her, waiting. And deep down, she knew something terrifying. The demon wasn't just hiding in one of the bodies anymore. It was learning how to live inside her. Rebecca's hands would not stop shaking. No matter how tightly she clenched them, no matter how deeply she dug her nails into her palms, the tremor persisted, small, constant, like something humming inside her bones. She pressed her back against the cold wall and slid down until she was sitting on the floor, knees pulled to her chest. "It's already touching you." Raymond's message echoed in her mind. She stared at her fingers. They looked normal. Pale. Human. But the sensation beneath her skin told a different story, an almost pleasant warmth, spreading slowly, deliberately, like fingers testing the inside of a glove. "No," she whispered. "You don't get to have me." The lights flickered in response, dimming to a sickly yellow. The hum of the refrigeration units deepened, slowing into a rhythm that matched her heartbeat. The bodies hadn't moved. That frightened her more than when they did. Rebecca forced herself to stand. Her legs felt weak, untrustworthy, but she needed to keep moving. Raymond had said fear was an invitation, but stillness felt like surrender. She approached the first table. The elderly woman's face looked softer now, almost kind. Her eyes were closed, lips relaxed. If Rebecca hadn't seen her neck snap sideways, hadn't heard that laugh scrape out of her throat, she might have believed she was harmless. Rebecca swallowed and began the embalming steps again, her hands moving automatically. Clean. Incise. Drain. As soon as the scalpel touched skin, the woman's mouth opened. A long, slow sigh escaped her, thick with moisture. Rebecca gagged and pulled back, heart racing. "You're doing it wrong," the woman whispered without opening her eyes. Rebecca backed away. "You're dead." The woman smiled faintly. "So are you. You just don't know it yet." Rebecca spun away, breathing hard. Her vision blurred. For a moment, the walls seemed to melt, dripping downward like wax. She squeezed her eyes shut until the room steadied again. Hallucination. She moved to the second table. The man's reconstructed face looked more damaged than before. Stitches pulled tight, skin discolored. His chest rose and fell in shallow, mocking breaths. "Please," he whispered. "Don't burn me." Rebecca flinched. "I can feel it," he continued, tears sliding from lifeless eyes. "The fire. It hurts so much." Her heart twisted painfully. "Stop it," she whispered. "You're not real." "Oh, but the pain is," he said softly. "And it will be yours." She staggered back, pressing her hands over her ears. The drowned girl was watching her. Not smiling. Not speaking. Just watching. Rebecca's pulse hammered. She approached the girl slowly, dread pooling in her stomach. The girl's skin was pallid, swollen, lips tinged blue. Water still seemed to cling to her, though the table was dry. Rebecca noticed something then, something wrong. The girl had no tag. The other two did. A chill crawled up Rebecca's spine. Before she could reach out, the girl sat up. Rebecca screamed and stumbled backward, slipping on the floor. She hit the ground hard, knocking the air from her lungs. The girl's feet touched the floor without a sound. She stood. Water pooled beneath her toes. "You're running out of time," the girl said, voice low, intimate. "He didn't tell you everything." "Raymond?" Rebecca gasped. The girl nodded. "He needs us." The lights flickered violently now, plunging the room into alternating flashes of light and shadow. In the darkness between flashes, Rebecca saw shapes, figures standing too close, faces stretched and hollow, watching her. Former assistants. "You think he's protecting the world," the girl continued. "But he's feeding it." Images slammed into Rebecca's mind, Raymond standing calmly as assistants screamed, their bodies thrashing while shadows poured out of them and back into the furnaces. The demon retreating, weakened, but never destroyed. Contained. Reused. "He promised you survival," the girl whispered. "But he promised us eternity." Rebecca shook her head. Violently. "You're lying." "Am I?" the girl asked softly. "Check yourself." Rebecca froze. A sharp pain bloomed in her forearm. She rolled up her sleeve with trembling fingers. Black veins spiderwebbed beneath her skin, pulsing faintly. Her breath hitched. "No," she sobbed. "No, no, no." The warmth spread further, crawling up toward her elbow. With it came thoughts that weren't hers, confidence, hunger, certainty. "You're safe with me." Rebecca screamed and clawed at her arm, nails breaking skin. Blood welled up, dark and hot, but the veins didn't fade. They pulsed faster. "You see," the girl said gently. "You're already marked." The elderly woman began to chant. The man laughed again, wet and broken. The room shook as the incinerator roared to life down the hall, unprompted, hungry. Rebecca's gaze snapped toward it. Fire. She remembered Raymond's rules. Identify. Mark. Incinerate. But what if the lie wasn't just in the bodies? What if it was in her? The girl stepped closer, water dripping from her hair, pooling around Rebecca's feet. "Let me finish," she whispered. "You won't feel the fear anymore." Rebecca closed her eyes, sobbing. Then she thought of the names in the notebook. The assistants who never escaped. The word failed written again and again. "No," Rebecca said hoarsely. She forced herself to stand, legs shaking but stubborn. "I won't be your anchor," she said. "I won't be his either." The girl's smile vanished. For the first time, anger cracked through her calm facade. "You can't stop this," she hissed. "It's already inside you." Rebecca wiped tears from her eyes and grabbed a metal tag from the tray, her hand steadying as something cold and resolute settled in her chest. "Then I'll burn what it's using," she said. The lights exploded overhead. And somewhere deep inside her, something screamed back. The scream inside Rebecca did not sound like pain. It sounded like outrage. Her knees buckled as the force of it tore through her chest, a pressure so intense she thought her ribs might crack from the inside out. She clutched the edge of the embalming table, gasping, teeth chattering as the warmth beneath her skin surged violently, then recoiled, like something burned. The drowned girl staggered back. For the first time since this began, she looked afraid. "You shouldn't have said that," the girl whispered. Rebecca lifted her head slowly. Her vision swam, but she forced focus. The room flickered between realities, the clean embalming room and something darker layered beneath it. Rusted walls. Blood-streaked tiles. Dozens of shadowy figures standing just out of reach, faces smooth and empty like unfinished masks. "Good," Rebecca rasped. "Be afraid. The metal tag cut into her palm as she gripped it tighter. Blood ran down her fingers, warm and real. She pressed it against the drowned girl's chest. The tag burned. The girl screamed, not with a human voice, but with something layered and ancient, a sound that vibrated the lights and shattered a glass cabinet against the wall. Water exploded outward, drenching the room as the girl convulsed violently. "You don't get to choose," the thing inside her shrieked. Rebecca screamed back. "Neither do you." The drowned girl collapsed onto the table, thrashing. Black veins erupted beneath her skin, writhing like living things. The tag glowed faintly red, etched symbols flaring to life that Rebecca had never learned but somehow understood. "Mark the liar." The man on the second table roared and tore himself upright, restraints snapping like string. His face peeled open at the seams, something slick and black forcing its way through. The elderly woman shrieked as her body twisted, joints popping, skin sagging and stretching as if something beneath was trying to wear her like a coat. Rebecca staggered backward, choking on fear. All of them. The demon wasn't in one body. It was moving. Using whichever vessel weakened first. Her phone buzzed violently, vibrating against her thigh until it slipped from her pocket and skidded across the floor. The screen lit up with Raymond's name. She didn't answer. The drowned girl sat up again, faster this time, movements jerky and unnatural. The tag was embedded in her chest now, half sunk into flesh that smoked faintly. "You don't understand," the girl snarled, her voice cracking between registers. "Burning me won't end it." Rebecca wiped blood and tears from her face. "Then why are you screaming?" The thing hesitated. That was all she needed. Rebecca bolted. She sprinted down the hallway, lungs burning, shoes slipping on wet tile as water followed her like a living thing. The mortuary screamed around her, freezer doors slamming open, metal drawers rattling violently as shapes inside pounded to be let out. "Rebecca." The voice returned, louder now, closer. "Let me help you." She burst into the cremation room and slammed the door behind her, throwing her weight against it as something crashed on the other side. The incinerator loomed ahead, massive, industrial, its mouth already glowing faintly orange. The heat kissed her skin. Her phone buzzed again. She picked it up with shaking hands. "Raymond, you marked the wrong one." Her vision blurred with rage. "You knew," she whispered. "You knew it wasn't that simple." Another message appeared. "Raymond, there is no right one. Only delays." Her heart dropped. The truth slammed into her with sickening clarity. "You never planned to destroy it," she said aloud. "You just keep it busy." The reply came slowly this time. "Raymond, containment is survival." The door behind her dented inward as something slammed against it from the other side. Metal warped, groaning under the force. Rebecca stared at the incinerator. At the fire. And then at her arm. The black veins had spread past her elbow now, pulsing rhythmically. With each beat. The voice inside her grew clearer, stronger. "You see?" It whispered. "He uses you. I protect you." Tears streamed down Rebecca's face. "You're lying." "Am I?" It murmured gently. "I never hid what I am." The door buckled again, a jagged tear forming as fingers pushed through, too many fingers, bending the wrong way. The drowned girl's voice screamed through the gap, distorted and furious. "She's mine." The voice inside Rebecca laughed softly. "No," it said. "She's choosing." Rebecca looked between the fire and the spreading corruption in her arm. Her chest felt like it was splitting in two. If she burned the body, the demon would move again. If she burned herself. Her breath hitched. A memory surfaced, not planted, not twisted. Her first day here. Raymond's voice, calm and certain. The incinerator only works on what the demon clings to most. Rebecca laughed weakly. Of course, she whispered. It's not the body. The thing inside her went silent. Rebecca backed toward the incinerator, heart racing. The heat intensified, making her skin prickle. The door behind her finally burst open, the drowned girl collapsing through it, dragging herself forward with broken limbs. No, the girl screamed. You'll kill us both. Rebecca smiled through her tears. Good. She grabbed the incinerator lever with her uninfected hand. The demon inside her screamed then, raw and furious and afraid. You need me. Rebecca pulled the lever halfway. The fire roared to life. Her veins burned like liquid flame. She collapsed to her knees, screaming as something inside her thrashed violently, tearing at her thoughts, her memories, her identity. The drowned girl shrieked as her body blackened, skin cracking, smoke pouring from her mouth. But the demon didn't leave. It clung tighter. Rebecca realized the truth a second too late. The demon wasn't using her body as a vessel anymore. It was using her will. And it had no intention of letting go. Rebecca did not burn. The fire screamed. She lay curled on the floor of the cremation room, skin slick with sweat, lungs dragging air like broken machinery. The incinerator roared beside her, its hunger furious, its heat unbearable, but her flesh remained intact. Inside her, something shifted. Not retreating. Rearranging. The demon stopped screaming. That silence was worse. Rebecca coughed violently, bile burning her throat. Her vision swam, doubling and splitting, reality stuttering like a corrupted tape. For a moment she saw herself standing, calm, upright, while her body still lay broken on the floor. Then the standing version smiled. No, Rebecca croaked. That's not me. Not anymore, the thing inside her replied. The voice no longer came from everywhere. It came from her mouth. Rebecca's jaw moved against her will. She felt her lips curve upward, muscles tightening in ways she hadn't commanded. Oh God, she sobbed. She tried to crawl away, dragging herself inch by inch, fingernails scraping tile. Her left arm refused to respond. The black veins had reached her shoulder now, pulsing steadily, confidently. The drowned girl's body lay half inside the incinerator, skin charred and split, smoke leaking from hollow eyes. But she wasn't gone. She was laughing. A wet, gurgling laugh that echoed off the walls. You can't burn belief, the girl rasped. You can't burn hunger. Rebecca screamed and slammed her fist against the floor. Pain shot up her arm, but it grounded her. Anchored her. I won't let you take me, she whispered. Her body stood. She didn't feel it happen. One moment she was on the floor, then she was upright, staring at herself reflected in the metal door of the incinerator. Her eyes were wrong. One brown. One black as pitch, swallowing light. Her reflection spoke. You already did. Rebecca staggered backward, heart pounding so hard it hurt. She felt like she was being pushed to the back of her own skull, forced to watch through smeared glass. No, she cried. I'm still here. Barely, the demon replied calmly. You fight beautifully. That's why he chose you. He. Rebecca whispered. The reflection turned its head slowly. Raymond Delver stood in the doorway. Real this time. No warped smile. No shadow leaking from his eyes. Just an old man with deep lines in his face and exhaustion carved into his bones. You should have stayed on the floor, he said softly. Rage exploded through Rebecca. You did this, she screamed. You fed it people. You fed it me. Raymond stepped closer, heat rippling around him. I kept it contained. By sacrificing assistance? Yes. The word landed like a gunshot. Raymond met her gaze without flinching. The demon feeds on resistance. On fear. On will. One assistant at a time is manageable. If it escapes. It is escaping. Rebecca screamed. The demon smiled through her face. Raymond's eyes flicked to her blackened veins. For the first time, fear cracked his composure. It's never bonded this deeply, he murmured. It's learning. Rebecca felt something bloom in her chest. Not fear. Defiance. You taught me, she said hoarsely. Completion keeps us safe. Raymond hesitated. Rebecca lunged. She didn't know how she moved, only that suddenly her hands were around Raymond's throat, slamming him back against the cremation room wall. He gasped, hands clawing at her wrists. The demon surged with delight. Yes, it purred. Break him. No. Rebecca screamed inside her own head, fighting the pressure, the thrill, the rightness of it. This is what you want. Her grip loosened, just for a second. Raymond collapsed, coughing violently. You can still contain it, he rasped. Finish the procedure. Complete the cycle. Rebecca laughed. A broken, hysterical sound. There is no cycle, she said. Just bodies. The demon hissed inside her, anger spiking. Kill him. Rebecca shook violently, muscles locking, vision blurring as control slipped further from her grasp. The demon pressed forward, smothering her. Thoughts. He knows how to weaken me. End him. Rebecca screamed as her hand closed around a fallen embalming tool, long, sharp, heavy. Raymond looked up at her. Do it, he whispered. Prove it chose wrong. Something snapped. Not inside her. Between them. Rebecca drove the tool into her own arm. The pain was blinding, white-hot, consuming, but it worked. The demon recoiled, shrieking as blood soaked her sleeve and splattered the floor. What are you doing? Rebecca collapsed to her knees, gasping, clutching her bleeding arm. Hurting you, she whispered. Because you feel everything I do now. The demon screamed. Not in rage. In panic. The mortuary shook violently, walls cracking, lights bursting, freezer drawers flying open as shadows poured out, howling and furious. Raymond stared at her in horror. If you weaken it. I know, Rebecca said through clenched teeth. It'll try to escape. She dragged herself upright, blood pooling at her feet. The incinerator roared louder, responding to the chaos, flames surging hungrily. The demon thrashed inside her, clawing at her mind, memories tearing loose, faces, screams, fire. Stop, it shrieked. You'll kill us. Rebecca staggered toward the incinerator. You were wrong, she said softly. It doesn't cling to bodies. Her vision tunneled. Her legs buckled. But she kept moving. It clings to choice. Raymond screamed her name. The shadows screamed louder. And Rebecca Owens stepped into the fire. Not to burn the demon's vessel. But to deny it the one thing it could never possess. Her surrender. Fire did not feel the way Rebecca expected. It was not pain first. It was clarity. The moment she crossed the threshold, the world narrowed into heat and light and sound so loud it swallowed thought itself. The incinerator roared like a living god, flames wrapping around her legs, her torso, her thoughts, burning away edges, burning away lies. The demon screamed. Not through her mouth. Through everything. The sound was layered and endless, voices overlapping. Children, men, women, assistants long erased, howling as one. Rebecca felt it thrash inside her, tearing at her memories, clawing for purchase, trying to hollow her out before the fire could finish the job. Stop, it shrieked. You'll be nothing. Rebecca smiled. Good, she whispered. The black veins ignited. Fire raced along them like a fuse, lighting the corruption beneath her skin in brilliant, searing lines. She screamed, not in fear, not in agony, but in defiance, her voice shredding as the heat tore through her. The demon recoiled violently, its presence condensing, compressing, panicking. I will survive you, it snarled. You already did, Rebecca gasped. That's why this ends. The incinerator surged, flames reaching higher, brighter, hotter than before. Metal warped and screamed. Alarms wailed uselessly into the chaos. Outside the chamber, Raymond Delver watched in horror. No, he whispered. No, no. The mortuary shook violently. Freezer doors burst open, bodies spilling out onto the floor as shadows tore free, writhing and shrieking as the fire pulled at them like gravity. Raymond fell to his knees. This isn't how it works, he said weakly. Containment, control. The shadows turned toward him. For the first time in decades, Raymond Delver was seen. Truly seen. Hands grabbed him, cold, desperate, furious. Faces emerged from the dark, half-formed and screaming, mouths opening to swallow his name. You promised, they wailed. Raymond screamed as they dragged him down, into the floor, into the walls, into the very foundation of the building he had fed them to. His body twisted, bones snapping, mouth frozen in a final, horrified plea. And then he was gone. The fire reached Rebecca's chest. Her skin split. Her vision fractured. Memories tore loose, her childhood home, her mother's laughter, her first day at the mortuary, the way Raymond's eyes had never quite held warmth. The demon latched onto those memories desperately, stuffing itself with her life as the fire stripped it away. You need me, it screamed, its voice breaking now. Without me you're empty. Rebecca laughed weakly. I always was, she whispered. You just didn't make it worse. The fire consumed her heart. And something ripped. The demon shrieked, a sound so violent it shattered the incinerator door outward, sending shards of metal screaming across the room. The flames collapsed inward suddenly, imploding rather than exploding, sucking shadows and screams into a single, blinding point of light. Then silence. The incinerator went dark. Smoke drifted lazily from its mouth, curling upward like a final breath. The alarms died. The mortuary stilled. Nothing moved. Hours passed. Maybe days. When the firefighters finally arrived, they found the building intact, barely scorched, eerily preserved. No sign of Raymond Delver. No sign of struggle. No bodies out of place. Except one. Inside the incinerator lay a single metal tag. Burned black. Still warm. It read, Rebecca Owens. They never found her body. The mortuary reopened 6 months later under new ownership. Fresh paint. New lights. New assistants, young, eager, unaware. But the building was different now. Quieter. Too quiet. On her first overnight shift, a new assistant paused in the embalming room, frowning. Do you hear that? She asked the empty air. A hum. Soft. Steady. Almost like breathing. In the reflection of the stainless steel table, for just a moment, she thought she saw a woman standing behind her. Skin scarred, eyes calm, watching with something like pity. Then the lights flickered. The reflection was gone. The assistant shivered and went back to work, unaware of the faint warmth spreading beneath her skin, or the whisper that followed her down the hall, gentle and resolute. Finish your work, it murmured. And don't let it take you. Some demons are destroyed by fire. Others are starved. And some choose to stay behind, not as monsters, But as wardens, the mortuary exhaled. And for the first time in decades, it slept.